So we're gonna try to take care of as much, and then we're gonna let you guys take notes and see what you can do over the weekend and all that good stuff. Good morning. Great. Thanks for joining again. If you have questions, you can unmute your mic or either put it into the chat so that then we can also have that recorded as well, because the chat also picks up messages. But glad you guys are here for our next session, our next installment. Just some kind of reminder stuff. Again, the recordings are being posted on our platform, which I'll share my screen in a minute so you can see it. Also, we're asking that you at least set up, if you haven't met with us already, at least set up one-on-one advising, so that if we have not viewed your documents, we can do that with you, as well as if you are looking for a certain response. We don't want you to get stuck and like give up. This is the time that a lot of people say, I don't have time for this, and then they have to start all over again. So we want you to keep moving. There's some good stuff on the way, and we're in hope that you'll really see some success. And I think it's through us having conversations and talking with each other that we can get this done. So encourage you to keep going. Don't stop. Keep going. It's not that much left, but keep moving. And then also, as you're getting success stories, or you might not think it's successful, but if you're getting something that's really positive, you see it moving in the right direction, just send us a note, send us an email or something, write something up. If we need more details, we'll ask for it. But again, like I said last week, I like sharing information with other people that have money. So if they're looking for success stories, they want to make sure that this program is successful as well. So we want to make sure that we can keep moving with this and that people will keep funding this so it can keep staying free. So, the way we do that is that we track what we're doing and actually making proof of concept that this really works. I'll talk a little bit about it again at the latter part before we get off. Again, good morning. Thanks for you guys that are coming in with us. Just, a reminder, as we go through the platform, we want you to use the full use of the platform. So there's some assignments that you should have already turned in. So we want to make sure that you do turn those in. Also, Philip Blanchard, with the person that created the platform, has offered his services and his time over this weekend, or even maybe today, not sure, but reach out to him. He sent you an email. I sent you an email with his email to let him know to schedule some time just to go through the platform so you know how to use it correctly and that it will benefit everybody. So make sure you reach out to Phil and make sure you get that. So on today's agenda, we are going to I'm gonna drive. Ray's gonna teach and take us through some things. But right now on today's agenda, and we'll see how things go. Ray may have had an epiphany last night or something. So we're gonna see if we're following his direction. So be prepared to make sure you download, or you might be able to open up your platform so you can see and kind of follow along. So we will be in the platform and we will be in live plan this morning, looking at maybe your personal statements, your startup costs, And also Ray has provided us some information for a case study that we'll use in Live Plan. So with further ado, Ray, take it away, and I'm going to try to drive and stay on the road.
Okay, I appreciate that. Well, good morning, everyone. This is, Tamara said that there's good things coming, but unfortunately, you're going to have to listen to me today before you can get to the good things, okay? So with that in mind, I thought we just kind of think about what we just talked about on Tuesday. And we talked a little bit about financial terms, okay? And you got in access to the financial terms 4-page sheet. And I thought I would just stop right here for a minute and ask if anyone has any questions concerning the financial terms that you were given to kind of glance over. So you have to either put something in chat or you have to say something. I see one thing in chat. It's Derek's on the line.
Yeah,
Morning,
he's sitting in the back there.
Okay, all right. So any questions on the financial terms? If not, we're going to go on a little bit further. Now, one of the things that we had for a homework assignment was to do a startup cost. It's really a startup cost spreadsheet, okay? And this startup cost spreadsheet is in SCORE. It's a very good one. And what I like about it is that it makes you think about not just what you need for a startup, but it also puts into perspective how you're going to finance it, how you're going to get it accomplished, okay? And so it draws attention to, what's your cash on hand, what's your capital of your company, and things of that nature, and where you're going to get the financing to pursue the startup costs, things that you need to get. So we talked last week a little bit about how all of these financial statements and analysis tie into each other. And this is one example of that. Okay, so as you're doing the startup costs, it's very useful to have your personal financial capacity with you. In other words, fill out, if you've done that personal financial statement, that'll tell you what it is that you are about in terms of your personal financial capacity. Because what's driving the bus is your personal financial capacity. When you're starting out a small business, you don't have anything else to rely upon except yourself. And so, as you know, when you do apply for a loan for your business, guess what that financial institution is going to ask you to do? They're going to ask you to personally guarantee it. Because what they care about is really not just the, if you will, the projections of your business. They care about cash flow. And so they're relying upon your cash flow. So when you looked at your startup cost, it's really a good idea to look into your personal financial statements to answer the questions is what are the sources I'm going to use to be able to obtain these startup cost factors that I need. Now you could ask yourself a question, do I need all of these startup costs? That's a very relevant question, okay? So you need to consider that. Obviously, when you acquire something that you need or you think you need, there's different alternatives. You can buy it, you can lease it, or you can go to Craigslist, and there's a section of Craigslist is called free stuff, and you'd really be surprised as to some of the jewels that are in the free stuff. All you've got to do is commit to taking it and pick it up. And I can show you some pictures. I don't have them set with me today, but I have pictures of some things that clients have obtained from Craigslist free stuff section that would just astonish you. So don't disregard, you know, other ways of getting things that you need, other than, you know, thinking that you've got to go and pay full premium price for something. Look for alternatives that best suit your needs, not just your wants. Okay. So do you have the startup sheet spreadsheet available to you tomorrow? One that I sent one last night to you.
Let me go into the platform so then everybody can see how to pull it down. So I have Ray's startup expense sheet. Is that the right one?
That should do it.
Okay. And let me know if you can see it or not as it's popping up.
What scared me about doing this, putting this little sheet together, is that every time I went to take it, to send it to someone, it would come up with all the numbers upside down and the whole statement upside down. And then when I printed it, it would be okay. But every time I pull it down to see it, it comes in initially upside down. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I'm backwards. Hard to say. But you look at the spreadsheet, okay, and it starts with the big ticket items first, okay. This would be, you know, buying a building, $300,000 building, and you can say, well, that's a pretty sizable building. And if you think a little bit ahead and think about, well, how much space can I get for $300,000? Well, obviously it depends, right? Location, conditions of the building, and so forth and so on, and then what it's going to take to build it out. All those things become variables. But I just put on in the notes, if you see on the notes there, it says $300,000 for the building, and then on the notes it says mortgage of $2,400 a month for 15 years. Okay, so that's what the mortgage would cost you for a $300,000 building. Okay, so keep that in mind. You know, in other words, if you're renting space for $4,500 a month, it's equivalent to what you can buy. You need to be thinking about, you know, the rent versus buy option, and make the decision you think is best suited for you. But going on with respect to this, this startup cost spreadsheet, you've got here things like leasehold improvements you might have to do to the property. That's going to be key. What you might need for furniture and fixture, and as well as equipment. So you can see that, you know, the total amount here of the startup costs on the fixed side of things is $380,000. And then you go down to operating capital. You know, what do you need to have set aside for pre-opening salaries and wages, prepaid insurance premiums, what are you going to need for legal and accounting fees, and we can obviously get you support for some of that pro bono, but just to put a number in, utility deposits, supplies, advertising and promotions, licenses, and then working capital. Okay, this is what you have on hand. So you might not have $50,000 in cash on hand, okay? But I just kind of put that number in there so I could show that I was going to be able to fund everything that I wanted, okay? That's probably not going to be the case. So you're going to have to make some adjustments. If I didn't put in $50,000 as an example, or I didn't put in total operating capital of $74,000, I would be short, okay? I wouldn't have enough money to finance my startup costs. Okay, so as you go down further, you'll see that at the very bottom there, the total funding needed is really, I don't need any money. I've got more money. I have $35,200 more than I need in terms of my sources of funding. Okay, so I'm way in the black with respect to having enough money. Okay, I'm not in the red at all. So this is just an example. Okay, but this tells you what you need. It documents what you need. It documents what your sources are going to be to fulfill that need. And obviously, all you got to do is to look at your first personal financial capacity, your personal financial statement, to get to the point. If you really have if you really have the capacity, and what is the capacity you do have? Because that's what matters. Okay, it's not what you want; it's what you can do. So I think with that, is there any questions on the startup costs? So put something in chat, or else you're going to have to say something. I can't see anyone's face. I can't tell body language at all. All I can do is ask you to, if you have a question, please.
Question here.
No, it's all good for me.
Okay, go ahead, Cassandra, I think.
No, I said I had no question.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I think what I wanted to do now is show you something that's a tool that you're going to need forever, okay? And this tool is it's kind of a financial tool to help you understand where you are relative to your here and now situation, okay? So the here and now situation is that you're selling a product for so much money, you've got revenue of so much money based upon what you sell, and then you've got fixed costs that you got to pay for, and you got variable costs that you got to pay for that's directly linked to what you're selling. And then underneath that, you've got fixed costs that are not variable, things like rent and things like that are fixed, like insurance premiums and things like that. So there's a relationship between those things that I just mentioned. And so what I wanted to do is run you through an example of a break-even analysis, okay? And conceptually, it's very easy, but it's very, very powerful. It's a very, very powerful tool. Tamara, could you go to Steve's pens? Can you get to Steve's pens? It's a little bit further up.
And Dorothea, if you can unmute your phone and if you have a question.
Yes. I've been working on the expense spreadsheets, and I'm having a little bit of a problem because I have a service-based business, and I'm a dressmaker and also teach sewing lessons. And I'm trying to figure out how to, in my mind, I don't know how to say what my cost is beforehand, because I charge them for fabric. They pay for their own fabric. So they're really only paying for my labor. And then with the sewing classes, they actually pay for the workshop. I do have expenses associated, like my assistant that I paid to help. And I have to buy the food and the fabric and things like that to run the shop. So I'm just having a little bit of trouble of figuring out how to fill that information in. Sure.
So I think that the best way to address that is really, it's a matter of how you categorize things, okay? And so, as an example, you're working out of your home right now, right?
No, I had a shop before COVID, and I just re-signed my lease the other day, so I'm going in today to pick my keys up.
Okay, so obviously that rent, that's a fixed cost, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So that's how you would characterize that. Now, so you might have that down. You might want to put down, when you put that key in the door, you're starting to take an expense with respect to your rent, okay? So maybe you want to put down your rent as first month's rent or something of that nature. Sometimes people put down a couple of months' rent, in terms of their fixed expenses, and that would go at the second part of that startup cost sheet. Okay. because on the top, you're talking about things that are, big purchase items, okay? Like if you were buying a building, that would go on top, okay? But you're renting, so that would go underneath. That's an operating expense. So it's just a matter of categorizing, and we can get on the phone. I can get on the
Okay.
phone with you, and we can go through it. You can send me
Okay.
what you got, and then we can go from there.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Any other questions? Okay, so now we're at, I think we're at Steve's pens, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Can you see it?
This is Steve's pens. So there's something covering Steve's pens. It's like it's a message from Derek. Do you see that, Tamara?
Oh, I'm sorry. He probably just said, okay, I'll respond to him.
Yeah, I didn't make any comment.
Okay.
I'm on the road like you tomorrow, so
Okay.
I gotta be
All right.
careful not to be caught driving and
Yeah.
texting.
Okay.
All
Yeah.
right.
We're good. Thanks.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Okay. So with respect to Steve's pens, let me just give you a little story about Steve. Okay. Steve is a reseller. That means he buys something and resells it. All right. So his business is selling pens. Okay. And so to do break-even analysis, you need to think about your sales, and you need to think about your variable costs. So with respect to Steve, he's selling his pens for $1. Okay. He's paying 50 cents for them. And then he doesn't have, his source of people who sell the pens are given a 10-cent commission for each pen they sell. Okay. And so his variable cost for these pens that he sells for $1 is 60 cents. Okay. That's his variable cost. And so when you think about taking away, like, look at that box on top of where it says Steve's Pens Company. It says management income statement, sales. Okay, so we know the sales are $1 just for one pen. The variable cost is 60 cents. And so that means the contribution margin is 40 cents. Okay, 40 cents is the contribution margin. What that means is that margin has to pay for his fixed costs and any profit that he's going to have. Okay. So we're going to go from silly to ridiculous. Okay. So Steve's fixed costs are $800,000. I have no idea what he's doing for $800,000, but he's done it. Okay. That's what his fixed costs are. And so what you want to know is, okay, how many pens does Steve have to sell to break even? Okay. To do that, you look at the fixed cost of $800,000 and you divide it by what's left over, which is 40 cents. 40 cents a pen is left over. Okay. So you do that division, and what you find is that Steve's got to sell 2 million pens. He's got to sell 2 million pens to break even. Okay. Now what if Steve wanted to make a profit? He didn't want, no one wants to do this to break even, right? So let's say he wants to make $200,000. How many more pens does Steve have to sell just to make $200,000? Well, again, you look at how much money you want to make as a profit, which is $200,000. You divide that by your, in essence, contribution margin, which is 40 cents, and you'll find that you need to sell 500,000 more pens. So Steve's got to sell 2.5 million pens to make $200,000. That's like selling a pen to everyone in the city of Chicago. Okay, that's a lot of pens. All right. So this is just to give you some feel for, what are the variables that trigger something that you need to know about to make money, to make revenue. You need to know how much you can sell, right? So if you don't think you can sell 2.5 million pens, this is a big uphill climb, right? So that's a factor, okay? What he's paying for the pens is a factor. You know, if he's paying 50 cents a pen, is there a price point that he can get it for less than 50 cents? I would hope so. If he needs to, you know, if you know that you need to sell 2 million pens and you have the capacity to do that, you have confidence to do that, you're going to be looking for a price point a lot less than 50 cents, as an example. And then how he's selling the pens. So there's a lot of things that come into play with respect to if you're going to make money or lose money. And so you need to be on top of these factors as to how they interrelate, because everything that you do with respect to taking an action has an impact. It has an impact on something. And so understanding these relationships kind of puts you in charge, and that's what you want to be. You want to be in charge. So you always want to know where you stand with respect to the here and now. And if you do break-even analysis, it'll tell you where you are in the here and now. Because you want to, if there's something that's not going in the right direction, you want to know about it right away so you can do something about it. Okay? So let me stop and ask if there's any questions about the break-even analysis. This is a real straightforward one. Okay? The fixed cost example is silly, obviously, but I just wanted to use this example because I think it gives clarity in terms of the relationships. Okay, any questions?
Unmute your phone if you have a question, or either put it in the chat.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Okay. So I think what we'd like to do now is talk about the case study. Okay. And Tamara's going to pull it up.
That's the one that we did, you sent. So what I'm doing is navigating this so you can find it just the way it is, so that you can use the platform. So you'll see that I'm going to what's called in our content library, financial case study. You click on the name, and then in this box here, it will have the document, which is a Word document. It downloads to your computer. I would suggest that you save it so that then you don't have to keep doing that. And hopefully everybody can see the case study on their screen.
Okay. Very good. So I asked that you read the case study for today, you know, read it prior to today so that you can get some sense of what it's about. But when I talked about it last week or Tuesday, I mentioned that the case study really focuses attention on a business that wants to expand. They need to expand to make more revenue, okay? And because there's a lot of fixed factors with respect to the business. This is a business of a daycare center, okay? So the daycare center's revenue is based upon how many kids they have enrolled, okay? And how many kids they can have in enrollment based upon the space that they have, okay? So this is kind of close to a home daycare center, okay? It's not a home daycare center. It's not done in someone's home, but it's similar in some respects in terms of the size, okay? It depends upon how much space someone has at home to be able to devote to having a home daycare center and the rules associated with it. But as an example, in this situation, this is a west side of Chicago situation, the operator, Martha, has a daycare center that's in a two-flat, it's located in a two-flat building that's adjacent to her home, okay? She has the first floor as her daycare center, and she rents the second floor out as an apartment, okay? and she wants to expand because, you know, she's got a great reputation. This is not, you know, this is not a startup. This is someone who's been in business for you know, 25 years. Okay. So she's got an excellent reputation. She's got a lot of testimonials with respect to how well she does her work. She takes a holistic approach with respect to how she interacts with not just the children under her care, but the families that are with those children. Okay, so Martha's considering to expand, and she's got an opportunity to buy out an existing daycare provider who wants to sell her operations. Okay, and she wants to sell her operations for $60,000, which would include all of the equipment, all the furnishings, and where she's located, which is relatively close to where Martha lives. Okay, and the other factor is that she doesn't own the building; she rents the building. Okay, the building rental is $4,500 a month. Okay, for 5,000 square feet. Now, this daycare provider typically has 20 to 25 children. Okay, the space that she has would enable her, by the standards of the DCFS, Department of Children and Family Services, to have 46 children. Okay, so that's what this is about in terms of the situation analysis. There's a wrinkle here because of COVID, okay? And COVID becomes a factor because, in essence, when COVID hit, daycare centers couldn't have kids. They couldn't provide services to kids, okay? But the DCFS paid the home care providers for the enrollment that they had during the time that they couldn't operate, okay? So that took care of stability with respect to those daycare providers, but a lot of the help, a lot of the assistance, they went on unemployment compensation. Okay, and so the factor that's relevant now is that, well, you can start opening up your daycare centers, but the DCFS is only going to allow you to utilize half the space. In other words, the space that you have can only service 50% of your entitlement of people you can enroll. So in the case of Martha, she could only have 7 kids. All right, and so the state of Illinois stepped in and has passed a grant for $270 million to enable this to put some kind of a patch on this problem until COVID is over with. Then the daycare centers can get back to full enrollment. Okay, so the next page is really the financial details of here and now for Martha with her 12 kids that she's got currently enrolled. Okay, this is a very formula-driven kind of situation. You get revenue based upon the ages of the children, and so there's a different rate depending upon the age of the children, and all of the children that Martha presently has now are in the $38.64 a day rate. Okay, so you just multiply that times 21 days, and then that tells you how much you would get compensated for each child that you're taking care of. And then there's a food service that's part of revenue as well. And so you get so much money for each kid for each day. So, you know, again, you get $4.56 a day for 21 days times 12 kids. That's $1,000, almost $1,500. Okay, but you're going to see that with respect to the variable operating expenses, most everything is kind of payroll, but groceries, you know, if you look at groceries compared to food revenue, most of the food revenues is being used by the expense. So she's not making much profit on food service. Okay, very little profit. And when you see the fixed expenses, you can see that the fixed expenses are pretty controlled. There's a couple things that are unusual. One would be a credit card of $1,500 a month. That might just be kind of a seasonal thing with respect to when Martha buys, toys or things on a seasonal event, and that might not be a steady number. The other thing is that what's very favorable is that the rent that Martha is getting with respect to the use of the space in her 2-flat is $800 a month. That's very reasonable. Okay, and on top of that, and including in the $800 a month is liability insurance. Okay, so that in and of itself is probably about $500 a year as a separate factor. Okay, so you can see that Martha's making some money. She's got one helper, and she usually has an assistant helper, and she's got herself. Now, the proposal, would be for her to think about what are the factors relevant to getting this opportunity to buy out the other daycare provider. All right, and so what you're going to see is that okay, Martha wants to consider that, but she doesn't want to kid herself into thinking that she can go from having 16 kids maximum to having 46 kids. Okay, because to make that jump, she's got to hire a lot of people that she does not have as staff right now, a lot more people, and she's going to need to do other things as well, and make sure everything works out, smoothly, so that she feels confident that her level of service and the way she runs her holistic culture of her business will be running smoothly. So the decision is she's going to consider what can I do with respect to the revenue from 30 kids. Okay, and so as you go to the next page, we'll see that that in essence, the breakdown, as you can see, like for instance, you get more money for an infant than you do for a 2-year-old, and you get more money from a 2-year-old a day than you do for a 3-year-old. I mean, that's what is paid by the DCHS. Okay, but in essence, just as kind of a footnote factor, if you think about that might not be relevant in terms of the care and energy it takes to handle someone who might be a rambunctious 3-year-old. Okay, and I can tell you on the basis of being a grandfather to a 3-year-old that I think that the baby needs less attention than the 3-year-old. Okay, so but I'm just putting that in as kind of a perspective that yeah, you can say that this is what you're compensated for the child care for these categories of children, but in essence, it might not compensate in terms of the effort needed to take care of children in a different age group, because they're not all the same. All these kids are different. So the food revenue again is a factor. You can see just by everything here is kind of pretty much by math. You get so much money a day. You got 21 days in a month, and then you just kind of go from there, and you can figure out what the monthly revenue is going to be and what the annual revenue is going to be. Just multiplication factors. Food is kind of like the same thing. She's getting food service and she's getting compensated for that. But again, you're going to find as we go to the next page that her groceries are pretty high. So let's just do that. Let's go to the 30 children group. You're going to see here that this is the tuition. This is the food service. Payroll's gone up tremendously because she's had to hire teachers, 2 teachers and 2 assistants. And then she obviously is paying herself something as well. So the payroll, as you can see, on an annual basis is close to over $200,000. Okay. The contribution margin, in other words, in terms of her operating expenses for running her business, without regard to fixed expenses, is $6,721.57. On an annual basis, that contribution margin is $80,658. Okay. The fixed expenses on a monthly basis are, the big one obviously is rent. That's $4,500 a month. Okay. And then other things like liability insurance, utilities, so forth and so on. That fixed expenses is $8,366.67. So your fixed expenses are more than your contribution margin. That means Martha's losing money on a monthly basis, and obviously she's losing money on an annual basis, all right? So let's think about what's the next step that we want to think about. The next step is, well, what would it be to go to 46 kids? Okay, so it's kind of the same analysis. You think you have to go this is a break-even analysis. This is the break-even analysis that we did on, kind of think about the example of Steve Penn's. Total revenue is $27,000. Variable costs are $21,000. The contribution margin is $6,700. The contribution margin as a percentage is 24.24. And so if you take your fixed expenses of $8,667 and divide it by the contribution margin, that means that your fixed cost contribution margin is going to be 30. So in other words, you need to have revenue of $34,515 to break even. Okay, and so what does that mean? How many kids do I need to have just to break even with these circumstances? And so you take the average revenue from each kid per month, divided by in essence break-even amount, and you'll see that you need 37.28 kids. So obviously, we're not dealing with witchcraft here. You need 38 kids, okay, to break even with respect to the situation of the costs the way they were with respect to 30 kids. You need 38 kids of revenue. Okay, so now we're going to go on to 46 kids, and 46 kids. It's the same kind of methodology. You've got so many infants, you got so many 2-year-olds, you got so many 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds, and you get what you get, and then you get food service, and so on the basis of that, you have to consider, what do you need for staffing? You need to have 2 full-time teachers for that group of children, and you need to have 3 assistants. Okay, and then the director is finally giving herself a larger annual salary than what she's been making before. And even with all those factors, you're going to see in the next statement that Martha is clearly making a solid profit every month of $7,150, and on a monthly basis, paying for even the high rent and everything else. She's still making a profit before taxes of $7,100. And an annual basis, that's $85,000, almost $86,000. Okay, so this is an example of a situation where you have the here and now, which was what the base is here and now, what the base would be on a larger group of children. Okay, and taking the option of this other party who's selling their business, and then thinking about going to the extent of full capacity. Now, you could say, well, obviously, you know, if you're not going to have 37 kids, you're not going to break even. Okay, so that's a factor. Let's go to the next page is questions. Okay, and this is where we need to think about, you know, what things would we want to consider based upon what we just talked about. All right. So with respect to that, there's 6 questions here. And, you know, you could say, well, what other options could be considered to obtain the additional space that is needed to have a larger enrollment base? Okay. And what other service or activity options could be considered to enhance Martha's revenue base? What expenses could be adjusted or eliminated so the margins could be improved? What do you think the most important factor that Martha needs to focus on in her expansion, and why do you think it's important? Do you think Martha should pursue the buyout of another daycare provider that entails both a $60,000 fee plus the assumption of a $4,500 monthly rental lease? And then 6, what other information would be helpful for you to consider the proposal to acquire the business of the other daycare provider? Okay, those are the questions. Okay. Now, we can do 2 things. Okay. And the difficulty is that we're not meeting together as a group. Okay, so meeting together as a group, we could kind of go through each one of these questions and we could do it together. Or the other option would be that you just respond to these 6 questions yourself to the best of your ability, and then we could talk about it next time. So and I'm certainly open to having a dialogue right now, but my point is, it's really collectively up to everyone here to decide what they want to do.
So Ray, I have a suggestion, and we'll see how it works out as a group, and that is for everyone to review this again, try to answer the questions on their own, and then let's set up a special, we'll send out an announcement with some suggested days and times to see if we can get as many people on, and set up a special Zoom call next week outside of our regular meeting, or add an additional hour to our Zoom on Tuesday, and actually go through this with their with them having answered the questions, and then having an open discussion just about this. So that's my suggestion. If people can give me feedback on if that could work for you. Yes, no, maybe.
That's fine. But I have a question for Ray.
Okay.
Ray, so one of the questions I think should be there is if she's looking to buy out another property or another business, she should be interested in a SWOT or market research in that area to see what her competitors are or who's already in that space already.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, those are great. So in other words, what you're giving me is you're giving me a perspective of what you think would be helpful. The number 6 question, what other information would be helpful for you to consider in the proposal to acquire the business of the other daycare provider?
Right, because
Okay.
I think that's very important, you know.
Yeah, and
why does this person want to sell and need to see her books and see where her numbers are at? And
absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot of things. This is not always something that is absolute. Okay, you need to think about, you need to think kind of out of the box in terms of, well, something might seem real negative, you know, like a $60,000 fee and a $4,500 monthly rental, okay, which would be almost 6 times what Martha's paying now for rent. All right, what her business is paying for rent, I should say. But you know, there's another side to things, all right? And so, Daryl, what you're saying is very relevant. And that's kind of what I'm looking for is really everyone's thoughts with respect to these questions, okay? Because I think we could have a nice dialogue together after everyone gets a little chance to think about these things and things that might come to their mind about options that could be pursued or actions that could be taken or should be taken, as what you just pointed out, Daryl. So that, you know, we could help in essence consider what might be the best choice to take. Okay, because this, at the end of the day, this is about judgment. Okay, it's also about capacity. Okay, it's about taking risk. Where you're, you know, in other words, we're not doing anything without risk. Okay, but there's risk and then there's unreasonable risk, and you don't want to take unreasonable risk. You don't want to bet the bank or bet your all of your life savings, you know, on something that wasn't well thought out and thought seemed to be a good idea at the time, but it wasn't, because you didn't think through in terms of all of the downside factors that would be relevant. So I just thanks for your remarks, Daryl. One of the things I like what Tamara suggested, because in essence, it gives us a chance to focus in on this opportunity to consider, you know, some critical thinking skills on what we want to take under our options to consider a judgment. Okay, and so this is what, you know, I'm not there's a lot of things that you don't have that could be helpful to have. Okay, and so that's why I think it would be useful to talk about that as a group rather than just to have me give you some insights and then as a result, your mind's going to shut down to other things.
So Ray, I'm getting some feedback and just from text messages, and it sounds like everybody is willing to maybe add on an additional hour on Tuesday, so that we can start at 7, but go all the way till 9 or however long people can stay. And for those that can't make it on Tuesday, my suggestion would be to go through the study, answer the questions, and send it directly to Ray, so that then Ray can set up a one-on-one with you to have the conversation. So we could, you know, but it sounds like everybody's okay with Tuesday, and we can kind of merge our Tuesday call maybe, so that we kind of stay on track and handle some additional things, but then just move right into the case study, you know, and it may only take 30 minutes. It might not take an hour, but we'll schedule. And if you can put that on your calendar for Tuesday to schedule for some additional time to stay on the call, to then go through the case study and the follow-up questions and have your answers already ready, I think it'll, you know, create a good flow for the class on Tuesday evening. So if everybody's good with that, I think everybody's saying yes, then we'll schedule that and have the expectation that we'll be on the expectation to be on the call a little bit longer.
Okay.
So, yeah, and I'm sorry, that is 6. So getting on at 6 to maybe 8 or
Yeah.
7:30. I'm not sure how long it'll take once people go through the case study and start trying to answer the questions, how long that conversation will be. But if you can schedule from 6 to about 7:30 or 8, see how it goes. Let's just extend that so we can complete this assignment.
Great. Okay, so for today, I have one other thing I wanted to discuss just for a few minutes, if that would be okay.
Yep.
And that is that I thought it would be useful to spend a little bit of time on the usage of Live Plan.
Okay.
And so I was tinkering around with it a couple days ago. And what I decided to do was I wanted to see, as an example, because like last Tuesday, Tamara, you went through some elements of time plan and you inputted some numbers, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So that you could show people how the input that you put in would also interrelate with other elements of financial statements and other financial analysis, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So what I wanted to consider was that, okay, well, what if you've got something that's kind of specialized like this case study, could I just cut and paste and put things into Live Plan and kind of use that? It's not going to be totally interactive, but in essence, if you've put a lot of energy into something already, you certainly, you're not going to, no one's going to fine you for just using the tool as a cut and paste vehicle.
Right.
Okay, so that's what I wanted to show. If we could just if we could go to Live Plan, or if you go to maybe if you go to my company, if you go to my company in Live Plan, you could see what I pasted in.
Okay. So can you see that?
Yes.
So this is Ray Bacon's company that we're viewing right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I just cut and paste from the the situation analysis and the case study and popped it in there.
Mm-hmm.
And I might have changed some words around, but I it's pretty much most of it's kind of like a cut and paste kind of thing.
Okay.
And I didn't fill everything, and I just pulled in some things, and I put in some of the analysis on the here and now analysis and the 30 children option, and and put those in as the financial statements. If you go to
The forecast.
Trying to think. Let me just. Yeah, it's if we can go to, you're at financial tables.
Yeah. So I'm in the forecast tab. Did you put everything in the plan section?
I think so.
Statements, executive summary, financial highlights. So there's no numbers in here yet.
Go to. Is there something that'll say like 4 comments? There should be like 4 or 5 comments. It'll.
Comment.
Yeah, there it is. It's in there.
Yeah.
Because if you open up that where it says 5 comments, it should get you to statements. There's some.
Okay.
So the point is you can cut and paste and put in your statements that you have maybe developed already in another plan and pop them right into Live Plan. Okay. And
So then we can actually then copy this information and then actually put it into the financial statement so it'll show up in here.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's just if you will, it just kind of gives you an operating base so that you don't have to go all over the place, because you can cut and paste and put numbers into the actual statements and Live Plan statements, which are interrelated. Okay.
Yeah.
the stuff I did is not interrelated, but this is.
Right, and that's what Martha was asking is, can we populate this? So I think what Ray was doing was just putting this in the comments first so that it's already in the system, so that then when you get ready to put in numbers, so staff payroll is $1,600 a month, you go to your forecast and go to your personnel cost and actually add personnel. So now I can go in here, what do I call it? Staff costs. So now you can actually start building it out. Click next. Do you want to treat them as direct labor or regular labor? I'll just say regular. But then how much will you pay them? So now I'm gonna pay them just the number, $1,600 a month. And when am I gonna start? So I'll just say, since we're not open yet, but we're gonna start tomorrow or August. And do you want to include annual raises? That's up to you. If you want to give an annual raise of 5% or something, and you click next. And is this an on-staff role? So this is, you can make that decision if they're actually an employee or if they're a contract worker, and you save it and close it. And once you do it, then just for that I put in, all my numbers pop up. So this is where, when you start putting these numbers in, it populates. It's just that Ray copied it in the comments section, so you don't have to keep going back to that Word document that we had or the case study document. Now it's here in Live Plan, and you can start copying and pasting and actually putting it into the work session. So hopefully everybody understands that. Now if I need to add another person, then I can add another staff person here and go and do the same thing. It's going to ask me the same questions. So then I'll have staff person 1, staff person 2. So then I can see how those numbers will calculate.
Yeah.
So hopefully
It looks
people
like
that had questions about that, it looks
like
it's going to work.
It would, you get a head count. So you putting in another person would maybe give you a 2 head count as an example.
Yeah, so I would do, it would take, so I'm going to add another person and call it staff, and maybe staff 2, and then do the next, do regular labor or direct labor, and then the cost. So I'm going to put that cost that they're going to get the same amount. So I'm going to put that cost in here per month, and we'll start it out in the year date. I think I chose the wrong year date, so we'll use 2020 that this person actually is going to start because they're new. And I'll give them a 3% raise and do next, and they'll also be staff. Save it and close it. So now I have staff costs. This is includes their percentage, I guess, of raise, but now my costs have gone up to $8,000 or for each of for the salary. The personal expense is 96, and my head count has gone up because I put the first one in for 2019, then 2020, and then 2021. So as you put the numbers in, you can make changes to this.
So the head count's based upon, partial years, actually.
Yes.
Things like that.
Yep.
So that's cool. So just keep in mind as an example with respect to this case study, Martha wanted to have all of her support staff to be direct employees, okay, not contract workers, and that they would have full benefits. not just, you know, Social Security but full benefits. Okay, so you know, that's something that's a factor in terms of cost, obviously, but it's also something in terms of maybe, or not maybe, but the perspective of the owner in terms of their cultural interests. They wanted to have, you know, Martha wanted to have her staff to be compensated so that they would be paid competitively relative to others.
And also, Ray, I wanted to, you know, so as I start putting those numbers, because this is like a forecast, as I start putting those numbers directly into these tabs, you'll notice that it was blank before. So when you start putting the numbers in, those numbers will start to change as well. But still, the comments are still here. So now you can do the next thing, put in the taxes, put in the draws, put in the groceries. So now you can just copy that and go straight to your tab and paste that information in instead of having to keep going back to the Word document. So that was the reason why Ray did that, so that at least you have access to it a little quicker and operate just in live plan instead of going back and forth.
Okay.
Okay. All
Yep.
right. So we went over just a little bit. Thanks again for everybody chiming in, as well as sharing on today and being with us. So we're going to end today. Again, just a bit of recap, and that is this is being recorded. So the recording will be available a little bit later today, or at least tomorrow morning. Make sure that each of you set up a one-on-one, at least one-on-one through this whole session. Talk to me, Rhea or Ray during this period of time, at least one time, so that at least we can follow up with you and kind of help you one-on-one. But of course, you can do it as multiple times as you want. Send us success stories or things that are happening that are positive, or also negative stuff, so that we can see if we can fix that while we're in the class. Make sure that you go back through those assignments and make sure you're turning in everything. So there were previous assignments from the last 2 weeks. Complete those, and also use the platform to do the comments and things like that. So start utilizing the platform. There's a section in there. I would suggest that you meet with Philip so that he can go through. A few of you actually really use the platform and make comments and statements and follow up and add your attachments and all. And it would be great if you could put all of that in the platform, so it's easy for me, Ray, and Rhea to actually pull it up and review it and comment back to you. So make sure you're doing that. Schedule that appointment with Philip if you're, you know, if you need that help. And then do the case study and answer those questions. And then on Tuesday, we'll extend our time a bit more. Tuesday night, or evening, we'll spend our time, extend our time a little bit more on the call, so that we can have more of an open forum and have conversations or questions on Tuesday. So it sounds like I got a thumbs up from most people. And we're gonna make sure we're gonna take care of all of the documents, and we'll look at your documents. So Maria, we'll make sure that we review your documents, and anybody else that's putting the documents in. We're gonna be more diligent in going into the platform. And if we have a challenge not seeing your documents or getting into your documents, we'll send you an email instead of using the platform, so we can have that conversation with you to figure out. So make sure you do all of that. So again, any last comments before we close out? Okay, great. So thanks again. I hear somebody. Yeah.
One second. I have a comment.
Okay.
When I wanted to mention, when we went into I believe the library,
Uh-huh.
and oh my goodness, it is a library. I spent hours just looking at those little clips, and it
Yep.
was giving a lot of information.
Sure.
But I spent so many hours in it. I was like, oh my goodness, is this what I'm supposed to do for class? Or am I just doing this research and losing myself with all this information, because it's very interesting
Mm-hmm.
and helpful? So
Yep.
is that something we were supposed to do? Because it's so many. It's
Yeah.
so many libraries. Sometimes, you know, if I start class or do some homework late in the
Yep.
evening, this is just personal. Like you say, share the hard times that we have. Sometimes I'm up at 2 o'clock in the morning on life plan, and I might open another tab, and then I'm into the library.
Okay.
With the class here, and
Yeah. So
I just
really the
want.
library is just like a library. So it's really designed for you to look and see the things that you need. And so it's not like a homework assignment. It's just a resource to help you. When we send you emails that say, do this, do this, do this, do this, then those are the specifics that we're looking back for. But the library itself is just a resource for you. You can look at it and, you know, but our expectations, so like that first week, we asked you to try to do those growth wheel worksheets. We asked you to do the introduction sheet. We asked, so there were certain things that we were asking for that we put not in the library, but in the list of things that you need to do. So there were certain things. So go back and look to see what we were asking for and submit those things. But the library itself is just a resource. We're going to keep adding stuff in that library, and that resource is just going to be helpful for you as we build upon things. Once we find some other financial stuff that'll be helpful for you, we're going to add that. You know, so it's just really just to kind of help you and guide you along, so that then you know, if you have a question about something, contact us personally, so that then you won't be confused about anything. Yep.
Sounds perfect. Thank you.
Okay. So great. Have a great weekend, everybody. I know a few people had to jump off. So appreciate your time, and we will be back together then on Tuesday at 6 o'clock. And we're gonna extend our time a little bit more. You can stay on as long as you can, but we're gonna take care of our case study and those questions. So over the weekend, read the case study and try to answer those questions, so that then you will be able to be ready more to participate on Tuesday in case there's some things that have popped up or some questions that you have for Ray. In the meantime, if you still want to email us or whatever, do that, and we can still meet with you one-on-one. Okay?
All right. Thank
All
you.
right. Thanks for joining. Have a great weekend and a good Friday, and we'll see you on Tuesday.
All right. You do the
All right.
same.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.